Hello, hello for this goddess chat. We are talking about the puzzles of life and just going to bring out an idea for Mindset Monday. I normally do this on my Facebook Live at Dr. Lisa Holland PT. But I thought I would come here and just do a live stream and basically two for one. Two for one. So, welcome. I hate doing these directly to YouTube because for some reason looking into the screen is kind of off. But I wanted to throw this tidbit out there. I don't know about you, but I enjoy going back to my journals and taking a look at where I was in mindset and taking a look at where I am. And the reason I love that so much, and I've always done that since I was very young journaling, is because it's amazing to see how things just come to fruition, how the little seeds you put there, back in my masculine divine dominated days, I would have written my goals and set them down and, have that checklist and signing it off. And I thoroughly enjoyed going back and like crossing things off and things like that. And then when I went to my totally opposite side, I kind of went 180 degrees on the other side. I kind of was not writing down goals, sort of on intuition and intention. And I had intended to write down my goals. And I'd make vision boards and beautiful things, but I wouldn't deconstruct them and reverse engineer them enough to really be able to keep myself on track. And so weeks would turn into months, months would turn into seasons, seasons would turn into years. And I would either, get totally distracted because I also have some ADD and have too much on my plate because there's so much that interests me. Or I would find myself getting frustrated because when you leave things down to the wire, when you really want to get things done and you get that funnel time, not necessarily procrastination, but just putting off where you could have segmented things so that you could fully come to your level of achievement that you're capable of, it gets really frustrating. So coming back into balance is really what it's all about. And I, would always look at my journals to make sure that I didn't waste time if I was feeling bad and kind of on that, wandering place to reassure myself that I'm actually still on track, that, focus on what I did accomplish, getting to that original intention. Or I would journal to kind of let out that excess energy from always being so linear and, more of that linear doer type of mindset. So it would bring me back into balance. So today I decided one of the things I'm doing to be more productive lately is if something comes up, which is constantly what ends up happening, I intend to do a post or something off of my phone and my phone is dead. And then I got to charge my phone and something in the time of charging my phone distracts me or something like that. So what I've decided is that when things like that happen, number one, stay calm, okay? Number two, just move on to the next task that would be productive within that reverse engineering that I had already taken the moment to do. So for example, today my phone wasn't charged when I wanted to do this, so I just plugged it in. I went over and I decided while I go over to the bathroom, I'm going to take a journal block of mine to just look at, and I looked at the first page and it inspired me and I refocused when I got out. And, because I was using my time productively. I wasn't sitting there on the phone getting distracted. I was using it productively. If I'm going to read on the toilet, I'm going to be reading stuff that is towards my goals, which is staying on track. And staying on track is looking at my journal book. So it's things like that which might be TMI because I'm talking about how I utilize my bathroom time. But to me, it's just putting things into our lives that we normally would do to become so much more productive. So I not only got out an extra future blog post or, mini blog for Instagram or something like that. I got inspired for what I was going to say, more organized for something I was going to do. And then when my phone was charged, I had accomplished 4 things when literally before trying to utilize this way of reorganizing my time, I might have just done 2 things, gone to the bathroom while my phone is charging. So that is what taking the puzzles of life, taking the pieces that we find and putting it into the big picture results in. And I will finish with this little analogy, why, and to better understand yourself maybe in this. There are people who do this a different ways, and we all need to accept it. But it's frustrating for those of us who actually care, who actually are trying to, what do you want to call it, personal development, spiritual development, career development, whatever, some sort of evolution, some sort of mindful awareness of natural evolution that's occurring, natural adaptation that's occurring in our lives. Some of us have to understand we are, from God's will everything came, from a supreme intelligence. If you don't like the word God, let me ask you to substitute love, or let me ask you to substitute supreme intelligence of the entire universe, because it is very apparent, except for the people maybe that are really stuck in a egocentric, narcissistic type of disease state. Okay? And it's a dis-ease for dysfunctional living to be in that state. But for most of us who are not in that, there obviously is an intelligence. There's an intelligence that says, oh, that season's done, the next one's coming. And if we don't want to say, well, the science proves it's because it's the angle you are to the sun, then I would say then there's an intelligence that angles a planet to the sun in a certain way. There's an intelligence that keeps it on track and not flying off in this centripetal force that we know is in nature, right? There's some laws of nature of cause and effect. And so if we take I was looking in my journal, bringing it full circle here, and I read that there had been a moment where I was comparing Genesis, because one of my desires is to help people who are stuck in the box of a religion, particularly Catholicism that I grew up in, that thinks yoga and all of this stuff is kind of like evil, which is completely absurd because Jesus Christ was a yogi in every way. It's so apparent. But one of my desires is to break that and to allow that for there to be that communication. And so at some point I was comparing Genesis and kind of the primordial forces of the Ayurvedic tradition of studying health and wellness and well-being and life, basically life force, okay? Because everything's like our study of life, right? Genesis is the book of life beginning, and Ayurveda studies life from very energetic type of sources. And if you read Genesis in the Bible, it's a very energetic, source-created, supreme, divine, intelligence, energetic, created story. And I was making an alignment between things, and it occurred to me while I was looking back at my notes that these are the little missing puzzle pieces that it takes, time and your own experience living. It takes years maybe, situations, tower moments where things break away and illusion is gone, or just, I see it for women, that veil of lifting, one going into puberty and one going out of that stage into menopause and beyond that into that third age. These beautiful times, maybe pregnancy is another one, maybe career transition's another one, marriage is another one, loss of a marriage, loss of a spouse, grief, something like that, loss of a relationship's another one. Having children's another one. During these times of maybe, we start to wake up. And they're the little pieces of the puzzle. And so we can relate that very much to, when I was writing that, it was a very cerebral type of spiritual writing that I couldn't have a discussion, but I related it today to puzzle pieces, and puzzle pieces are something I can have a discussion with children, with elderly, with all religions, all colors, all mindsets, except that closed, diseased, narcissistic, egocentric one, of course. But in general, I can relate it to the fact that sometimes in life, some of us are the people who will put that puzzle, that 1,000-piece puzzle together by dumping everything out and taking our time to turn it over, then grouping the color pieces that are kind of the same, looking for patterns, then looking at shapes, then, looking piece by piece which shape fits into that shape, right? Some of us are the people that will look at the box and they will say, okay, I need to do this very strategically, very linearly. I'm going to go from the corners. I know. They have to go from the known. Okay. At first, I was talking about going from a pattern of vagueness, but familiarity. Some people go with what's known, and they know what a corner looks like, so they're looking for all the corners, and they go from there. And then they may utilize some of the processes I spoke about, or they may use a different process. From that place. Then there's the people who will just decide, I just need to get this damn thing done. They're doing it because somebody else told them to do it, first of all. And then they're just deciding that even if they told themselves, I want to get this done, it's just going to get done however the hell it's going to get done. That may mean they force pieces together that don't really fit. That may mean that they literally cut pieces to fit by their will as opposed to the will and the intention of the artist. And in the end, they will create some picture and they will just deal with it, and however their attitude is towards that is how it's going to be. And then some people work in teams. Some people will, segment that team where, that they give tasks off and then they come together on a round table and see what they got and then they go off again. Some people will do it as a team, every piece collectively. And I see that as our life. So I'm going to leave you with this. In terms of your karmic nature, which is how the energies of the world look, let's say in the Eastern mindset, where there is this supreme intelligence. And then there's the things you do by your constitution, by the way you work, by you being the snail or the tortoise or the hare, right? But in the end, there's this one truth of the picture as intended. And I think a lot of our frustration is deciding how we're going to approach that. If we take a more Western or Americanized model, I can say, being an American, there's a lot more people who are like, let's just get this freaking thing done, however it is, and we'll just build it again if it breaks apart. I'll just get another puzzle. I'll get a better puzzle. And that's not always the case, guys, with life. Sometimes because we did not take the time, or we did not delegate, or we did not organize, we can end up with just a bunch of pieces that never quite fit. And we could finish with a view of life that never really looked like anything. And we could kind of see it vaguely. We know the intention, we have that vision from the box, and get very frustrated. But it all comes down to attitude, okay? Sometimes you just don't have all the pieces of the puzzle. Sometimes this life, is not going to give it to you. How much are you going to still enjoy the process? How much are you going to get out of the process? How much are you going to have the faith and trust that it all works out as it needs to be? Maybe not even for you, but for others that you touch through your process. So I'll leave you with that. Let me know below what you think. If you'd like to have more of a conversation, I talk this way on my Mindset Mondays over at Dr. Lisa Holland, PT, over on Facebook on Mindset Mondays. and some other women's circles that I keep and conscious coaching circles that I keep. So take a look at over there. It'll kind of give you directions, kind of the billboard and menu to my other circles and services and things like that that I might mention over there. If you're into the yogic living, if you're into that Eastern mythology, mysticism, mythology, that type of parable learning, then Belly Guru LLC over on Facebook and also bellyguru.com is where you might want to find me for my healing services as well as my yoga on and off the mat. Take care, guys. Talk to you soon.